Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of The Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the newspaper of the 9th of May. So coming to the first article, Circle of Life. Now the context here is with regards to a report. This is the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services report. For short, it is the IPBES report. Now this report is what has highlighted some very serious issues vis-a-vis environment. So all of these issues are what become important for us. At least somewhere you will have a scope of discussing or quoting this particular report. So in that context, you have to prepare this particular article. Though directly I am not expecting a question on this report. This is because primarily this is not a very important institution and the report is not very important. But definitely if it is mentioned in the Hindu, you can quote it. So that is the relevance. Now coming to the issues that have been discussed. The first aspect of the report is discussing about the exploitation of nature. Now the report is highlighting that the behavior of human beings is such that it is what is resulting in a high degree of exploitation of the nature, and this is what is causing a number of species belonging to all the areas that is on land, on water as well as in air to face high degree of extinction. Next, the report is highlighting of the risk of extinction. Now this is what is posed to approximately 1 million species as per this report. Also the rate today, the rate of extinction is what this report is saying is 10 to 100 times higher than what it was in the past. So this is again something that has been highlighted here. Next is the issue of a catastrophic erosion of the ecosystem. Now this again is a key phrase that you can as such quote. It is obvious, it is self-explanatory that the behavior is such that the erosion of the ecosystem is what is taking place at a catastrophic level is what has been discussed in this particular report. Next is the issue of the tropical areas being more vulnerable, and this is something that time and again several reports have been highlighting, and India is also a part of these tropical areas only. So this is what is posing much more threat to India in specific also. Now what are the causes that have been discussed here? There are several causes for this. Agriculture is one prime cause for this. Mining is another major cause for this. What is happening because of agriculture as well as in mining is that large tracts of land are what are being diverted into agriculture and mining, and this is what is resulting in the loss of the biodiversity, loss of the ecosystem for biodiversity. So that is what has been discussed in this particular report. Next is the issue of marine plastic pollution. Now again the report is highlighting that marine plastic pollution is what is on a rise. This has increased by 10 times recently. So that is another important piece of data. Next the report is highlighting about the genetic resource kit. The report is discussing that the resource kit of genetics is what is being lost in the present times. This is primarily because a lot of the genetic pool is what is being lost because of the biodiversity losses and the extinction of animals that is taking place. So that is what is a cause of concern which has been discussed in this particular report. So these are some points in this report. You can, if there is an opportunity in the environment questions, you can quote this particular report and mention these points. So that is how you have to use this particular article. Coming to the next article, a wake-up call on proprietary seeds. Now the context of this particular article is that recently PepsiCO, the company PepsiCO, filed a suit against a small farmers. This was primarily because PepsiCO said that the potatoes that were being grown by these farmers are what were proprietary of PepsiCO. These were the same potatoes which were used for the manufacturing of Lay's chips, and as a result of which they had filed this particular suit. Now after this, what happened was that PepsiCO faced a lot of criticism both in India as well as globally, and then later PepsiCO withdrew this particular case against these small farmers. But what becomes important for us is this issue of proprietary seeds and what are the impacts of it. So those are what have been discussed in this editorial, and that is what we shall be discussing. So coming to the issues, the first issue is that of the proprietary seeds. Now here what you need to understand is that basically proprietary seeds simply means those seeds which are high yielding varieties, which are not natural but rather they have some degree of modification that is done with them, and these are the seeds that are largely being grown in India. So this is one concern, that a number of farmers are growing proprietary seeds, even those when the farmers are not aware that they are growing proprietary seeds. When it is later found the seeds that they are growing are hybrid seeds or altered seeds are what they are growing, which are collectively known as the proprietary seeds. Next is the issue of high inputs. Now the issue here is that whenever these seeds are what are grown, these seeds always require high inputs. For example, they require pesticides, they require fertilizers, they require a lot of water. So all of these inputs, what results because of this is that the input cost for the farmer is what increases highly, and the results are what are not so much, and as a result of which farmer distress is what is increasing in India. So that is one issue that is important. The next issue is with regards to the impact on local biodiversity. Now, because majority of these proprietary seeds are what are not native to our region, what happens is that they have a negative impact on the local biodiversity. Many a times it results in the loss of the natural seeds and the natural fauna that was growing in the region. It also impacts the animals who are feeding on these plants. So these are some impacts that are there on the local biodiversity which have been discussed. The next impact here is the social impact. Now, what is the social impact is that previously farmers used to share their seeds. They would grow a crop and they would sell their seeds. So as a result of which some degree of social relationships were what were being built between farmers. Clearly now that is what is not happening. So this is the social impact of it. Now, what are the causes for the use of these seeds is what is important here. The cause here is that primarily all the experts in the agriculture offices for time and again since the Green Revolution have been emphasizing the use of high yield variety seeds, and now the farmers have just taken all that information. They have digested all of that information, and now they have come up with the idea that they want to go ahead with proprietary seeds no matter what be the traditional knowledge available with them. So that is what is the primary cause for a shift towards these proprietary seeds is what has been mentioned in the editorial. Lastly, the editorial is offering us some suggestions, and this is what is important for us. These suggestions are that how can we wean away our farmers from the use of these proprietary seeds. Now, there are many methods for this. The first is to obviously educate and encourage the farmers to shift towards traditional seeds and avoid using proprietary seeds. Next is a system of blockchain, or for that matter a system of record keeping is what should be done. Here the editorial is advocating that suppose this one particular farmer is sending his seeds, and then these seeds are what are traveling to different regions further. So a record is what should be kept that this seed was what was manufactured by the first farmer, so that whenever this seed is what is grown, some degree of return is what is incurred to this farmer, and this is what is going to make this process of seeding seeds and further growing crops from these seeds profitable to the farmers, and as a result of which a record keeping is what is required. Also, the editorial is emphasizing as a third suggestion on focusing on the traditional knowledge. Traditional ecological knowledge is what is something that is present in India for a very, very long time. For example, the Vriksha Ayurveda as well as the Krishi Prashar, these are some traditional texts that talk about some traditional knowledge. Lastly are the suggestion with regards to the CBD. Here you should know that the Convention on Biodiversity, to which India is a signatory, is also stressing or also talking about the importance of conserving traditional seeds. So that is one thing that has again been suggested in this particular article. This topic can come as such in the agriculture section of your paper. It will be important from that perspective because this is what has been in news also, and also this is something new. And even if it is not directly asked, whenever you are to discuss about problems that agriculture sector is facing, you can highlight this problem of proprietary seeds as well as high yielding variety seeds. So that is how you have to make use of this particular article. So that's about this particular article. I'm coming to the next article. Now, atrocity of justice. I have discussed so many articles on this context. The context here is with regards to the Chief Justice. I'm sure you all by now have seen a lot of my videos on this one particular topic. There is nothing new to discuss. This article is reporting all the same topics and same issues that we have already discussed vis-a-vis this particular matter. There is only one new point, that the in-house committee that has been formed here, this was something, the idea for which was what was developed in the year 1999. In this particular year, it was decided that whenever a case was what was there against a sitting judge of the Supreme Court, then an in-house committee is what is going to be formed. But the issue here is that this in-house committee, this decision was what was taken in 1999. But the matter at hand is that of sexual harassment, and the Sexual Harassment Act is what has come into existence since the year 2013. So if this act is what is there already in place, then obviously this act should be given more importance as compared to the 1999 precedents. So that is one criticism. This is one new point that I have extracted from several articles that are coming now. Otherwise, everything is a repetition. If any one of you is interested, you can of course read this particular article, but there is nothing new to it. So that's about this particular article, and that's about our discussion today. I thank you all for watching the video.